Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. I'm Jordan here with Jenna and Taylor, and we're trying as hard as we can to wrap our minds around the terrible weekend that the Penguins had. It was so bad. I have a hard time believing it. So it started on Saturday with an abysmal performance in Ottawa, and it was capped off by an even worse performance somehow in Washington. And there was a terrible Steelers game in there in between. It was just a beautiful Pittsburgh misery sandwich. So let's just kind of get this out of the way. I don't even know where to start because it was so bad. It was just so bad. Okay, so let's start with Taylor. In your eyes, what was the biggest issue with the team spanning across those two games? What in the world was going on with them?
I mean, they just looked sloppy and disjointed. I mean, the Senators are bad, but that wasn't even really the Senators because they had how many guys on the COVID list? That was like the Belleville Senators, like their AHL affiliate for the most part. But yeah, just the one in Washington was the worst loss of the season, like their worst margin, 6-1. It just seemed like from start to finish, they were just completely outplayed. And part of that was that, they have so many guys coming back from COVID in and out because Pettersson and Ruido didn't go to Ottawa. They couldn't because of the border. Then they did come back in Washington. Crosby and Dumoulin came back against Washington. Maybe not quite ready. I mean, they felt okay to play. That's why they were in. But watching the game, Crosby didn't look that great against Washington. Dumoulin looked pretty bad against Washington. Some of it was, bad decisions, like his turnover that led to the third goal. But he did look very slow. And then even when he talked after the game, Dumoulin, he only talked for maybe 3-4 minutes, and when he came out, when he started talking, he sounded all right. But by the end of like the 3-4 minutes, he sounded wiped out, winded. So it affects different guys. He was symptomatic. Crosby was symptomatic. So and they jumped right back in without having a full practice. So that was not easy. Dumoulin said that was a real challenge, but he said it was a back-to-back. Everyone had it kind of tough. So yeah, again, with those two, they're going to get better as they play more games. And they actually had a full practice for the first time on Wednesday since coming back. Yeah. So not too worried about those guys finding their games. They have time. But just everything else looked sloppy, disjointed. Power play was terrible over the weekend. You can't narrow it down to one thing because a lot went wrong.
It was so bad. And I saw your tweet last night about how they, oh my goodness, what was it? They were 0 for 28 on the power play.
Yeah.
God, that's bad. Oh my word. Jenna, when you look at the Penguins power play, why? They have so much talent. Why are they so terrible at converting on the man advantage?
Yeah, you really wonder kind of what's going into all of this. And you do wonder with, all the guys coming back from COVID, how much fatigue they really have, how much that's playing a factor, just because of the fact that, to any normal person coming back after COVID isn't anything, but it's asking a player to get back onto the ice and play the minutes that we see Sid and Dumoulin play kind of consistently. I think it's just also, and you can't sit here and make excuses, obviously, but like this team has been so disjointed from the start of this season. We haven't seen this team what they're capable of. Obviously, you start without Sid and Malkin, and then you seem like every couple days it's, this guy's on the COVID list. This guy's on the COVID list. This guy's on the COVID list. This guy's coming back from the COVID list. Where is he fitting into things? There's so much shuffling. There's so much moving around. So I don't want to kind of lean on that and say that it's just a huge lack of consistency. But with what Taylor was saying too, I mean, just the sloppy play. It's, we heard them talk after Tuesday's game against the Sabres where, what did they outshoot Buffalo 20-3 in the third period?
Yeah.
It was unreal.
He stand on his head and then some. I don't even think like what's bigger than standing on your head, standing on your eyeball? Like, I don't know. But whatever it was, he did that. They made him do that. And we hear from the guys after the game, it's like, we need to play the full 60 minutes that way. that's the answer there. That is what they need. They need that sense of urgency. I think you kind of didn't see that sense of urgency in Ottawa. And then you go into Washington, where the Caps are clearly a very solid team, even with some of the players and pieces they're missing due to COVID, due to injury. But to give up 12 goals in 2 games, let alone back-to-back games. Yes, it was 2 different goalies, but also it's like, there seems like there's issues. And maybe it was just me too, but looking back at least the 2 games over the weekend, not as much in the Sabres game because they didn't do this, but they're giving up back-to-back goals too quickly. There was 2 in Ottawa that I think were within a minute of each other. And same thing with Washington. I'm doing a couple other things when we were working the Steelers game and looking, and it's like, they just gave up a goal. And then it's like, oh wait, they just gave up another goal kind of thing. That the inconsistency there, it's like, okay, stop the bleeding immediately. You have to do that. You got to find a way.
It really does feel like in those moments, because it happens so frequently, and it's happened, I feel like, an abnormally high amount since the 2019 playoffs when we got swept by the Islanders. It feels like this team has a really hard time of taking back control of the game. And I don't know what that would be attributed to, but it just seems like across the ice, they're not playing smarter than their opponents, and they're not playing more aggressive than their opponents. And they take all of these ticky-tacky shots from almost out by the blue line. Like I noticed that last night so much. They were trying to force these shots, and there wasn't even any traffic in front of the net to block the goalie's line of vision. Like, they were just shooting it straight into his chest. And granted, the last 15 minutes of the game, after that Mike Matheson hit, it felt like a completely different team. They really did start to kind of steamroll Buffalo, but they just weren't converting on the chances. And there were some wacky calls and penalties there towards the end that just didn't quite make sense. But if you're only going to play that way for 15 minutes of a game, you can expect a loss. And that's honestly, Tokarski, like, that's its own thing, the way that goalies just show up and play like Vezina candidates anytime they play the Penguins. I don't know what it is. It's just magic juice that's in our ice that is like, oh, gotta go. It's the Penguins. But I'm not concerned, but it's questionable. Like, and you do wonder how much of the line shuffling and COVID and injury stuff plays a factor, because it's not like we're without talent. And I feel like if the Penguins can take that final 15 minutes of the game last night and start to build on it, and I said this on Twitter today, if they're a good team, they will. And I think that they have the capability to be a good team. But if they can take that and use it as a building block moving forward, knowing that they're going to be getting Evgeny Malkin back in the next month or two, it's definitely comforting to know that they're capable of playing that way. It's just the lack of quality chances because they're doing whatever the heck it is they're doing. Like that, like you said, we were talking about this before we started recording, that the one lone power play goal that we got wasn't even technically on a shot because it bounced off Jake Gensel's skate. And like, yes, get guys in front of the net, create traffic in front of the goalie, and good stuff happens. But at the same time, it's like, you didn't mean to do that. So what are you doing? And so I guess, do you think that that's enough? Taylor, we'll start with you. Do you think that's enough for the Penguins to turn around their power play, or at least start maybe pivoting in the right direction?
So after Wednesday's practice, Russ was asked about that goal, and he said, that is a really skilled play by Guentzel. Like, because of Guentzel, he did see it coming and angle his foot, so it's not like he was like, but still, like, that's not the prettiest of goals. Like, that's not what you expect to see from the power play with these kinds of guys on it. I don't know. It's hard to say because, Guentzel, he talked, it was after the game in Washington, and he's like, we just need one tip in rebound to go our way. And then it's like kind of hopefully the floodgates will open for them, because what happens is sometimes I asked Sullivan before that game of like what he saw of the power play, and he said, sometimes when it's been this long without a goal, guys just start gripping their sticks tighter. They're trying doing too much. They're not keeping it simple and not having a shoot first mentality because they're trying to make the nice pass or the pretty play. So I think maybe just like mentally, even though that wasn't a great goal, like just having that goal and ending the streak at 28 scoreless power play opportunities. Just mentally, maybe if guys were gripping their sticks tighter and, it was getting their heads, maybe that'll go away. I don't know. It could always get worse. Wilkes-Barre, they have not scored in their last 36 power play opportunities. So Pittsburgh at the bottom of the NHL, it was like 8.5 or 6%. Wilkes-Barre, bottom of the AHL, it was like maybe 9%. They lead the goals in shorthanded goals allowed. And then all the way down, Wheeling is next from last in the East AHL on the power play at like 10%. So I don't know if that means, well, yeah, it's like I love that solidarity Wilkes-Barre like holding out on scoring, like waiting until Pittsburgh scored, then so they didn't feel bad. No, but it's like again, even Wilkes-Barre, like they have the talent, like Pustin and Zahorna, Poulet, like it should not be happening. So I don't know if maybe that's something where, given that it's happening all the way down the system and they try to play down the system the same way, that there's something bigger there at play other than just, getting in their heads. But at least for now, you gotta hope that maybe this gets a goal, even though it's not a pretty goal, just helps them mentally moving forward.
Yeah. Jenna, what's one thing you want to see the Penguins power play improve upon moving forward? Maybe even just in the next handful of games.
Well, I just think you can't make the sloppy turnover, the sloppy mistakes. Because how many shorthanded goals have we seen up to this point? It's been at least
too many.
2 or 3. Yeah, the one in Washington, not great.
Bad.
Yeah, but like recently, again, you see them recently. It's like, and I feel like there's been a couple games that I've really, really paid attention to where you see that type of thing where it's just, sometimes it's an unlucky bounce, and that happens. That always is in the game of hockey. But when it's, a mistake that's, a pass that's too high that gets out of the zone, or even just having to re-enter the zone and having to reset up and not really be able to generate the momentum and start working things around to get into the power play. Again, I feel like it goes back to consistency a little bit, but it really is just, keeping it simple. I know we hear that all the time. Phil Bourque always loves to say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And that's what they need to do. That's exactly the mentality they need to have. It's like, don't try and be cute. Don't try and be fancy. Yeah. Because like Taylor was saying, also like what Sullivan said, then you grip your stick too tight. Then it's, we have to do this. We have to do this. Like there's so much pressure on it where it's like, no, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basics, go back to what works and what does well. And I think it'll also help too that, this road trip that they're on right now, they'll really be able to kind of hone in on some of those things. You know how dire points are. I mean, it's crazy. It's, November 17th. And I mean, not to freak out and look at the standings in that way, but Carolina's 10 points up, 10 points.
Oh, it hurts. It definitely hurts, but it's not too late.
No.
If they can start to take control of their own fate. And that's what we're going to be seeing over the next several weeks, because we know that December, January, that's when teams who tend to win the Stanley Cup start to find their rhythm and their groove. And I'm not trying to imply that I think the Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup. Very far from it. But
I mean, St. Louis, when they were at the bottom, they turned it around. I think they need a practice fight. Someone needs to drop the gloves.
Get into it.
Maybe when Malkin comes back. Malkin's done it before. Someone needs to play the role
that fire.
Craig Adams. But so
literally anything that will get just the spark, the energy going.
Sullivan said he told the team they need to bring 2 things to Montreal, swagger and urgency. So that's it.
I would love to see both.
They get to Montreal, unpack the bags. Oh my God, we forgot the equipment.
Pull out that swagger.
The equipment bags are just full of swagger.
No sticks. Just urgency and some swagger. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back. So the entire world of Pittsburgh received news yesterday that was rather alarming. I saw it on Twitter first, and then more and more sources started writing about it and covering it. But it's looking like the Pittsburgh Penguins will be falling under new ownership probably sooner rather than later. So it's what is the actual title? The Fenway
Sports Group.
Yep.
So they own the Red Sox. They own a couple things. Red Sox, Liverpool FC, the English Premier League, a big soccer team if you're into soccer. They own the stadiums for both teams. They own part of an NASCAR team. They own part of the Red Sox AAA team. They own their single A team. And then 80% of NESN, the sports broadcasting network up there, the New England Sports Network. They cover the Bruins teams and all that. John Henry is the main guy. He owns 40% of that. But I mean, the other people who are involved in Fenway Sports Group, there is a local tie. So it's not just, Boston people trying to come in and buy the Penguins. Larry Lucchino, who's a Pittsburgh native. There are other, billionaires involved, but then also like LeBron James is involved in Fenway Sports Group. And then his business manager, Maverick Carter. So they approached the Penguins. It's not like the Penguins were for sale. I when this came out, I had people tweeting at me angry, like, how come we didn't know the Penguins were for sale? It's not it's not like a house. It doesn't go up on Zillow. Like it's they approached the Penguins and had an offer. It sounds like it's going to be $900 million, so almost $1 billion. And I guess when a group like this approaches with that kind of offer, then like suddenly the Penguins are for sale. It's like maybe your house isn't for sale right now, but if someone comes up and be like, I'll give you $900 million for your house. Okay, your house is for sale, but that's what it's sounding like it's going to happen. It's unclear whether or not Burkle will stay involved. Initially, it sounded like he would be out. The latest reporting from Dejan sounds like maybe he's unsure right now. But Mario Lemieux would be involved in some way in minority stake, so he wouldn't be completely out. But I mean, crazy news.
Sure is. I definitely wasn't expecting to see that anytime soon, if ever. I had this idea that it was like a family business where you just literally never get rid of it. And that's not how sports work at all. It's not like a mom and pop pizza shop. It's not the same, even a little bit, but it is interesting. And so I'm a layman and I don't understand sports business or business in general. So let's talk a little bit about what that means for the actual franchise itself. So Mario is probably going to stay on as minority shareholder, but I know that at least whenever I started talking to my family about it, saying this is a thing, what is happening? The question that everybody asked me, like I know anything, is are they staying in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
So let's at least address that. Is it even remotely possible that the Penguins are leaving Pittsburgh?
No. There is a rule in the NHL that when new ownership comes in, they can't move a team for 7 years. So, and the Penguins have a lease at PPG through 2040. So
that's not soon.
Yeah, they're not. There's a couple of reasons why it's absolutely not happening. Even Wilkes-Barre, someone asked me about because Burkle and Lemieux own Wilkes-Barre Scranton too. They even have like a lease through like 2020 or not 2030. So even them not going anywhere. So it would really just be new bosses.
Mm-mm. And from what Dan was reporting, obviously Taylor, we're kind of in the middle of that in that way. And when we were talking to him, because everything was just breaking news and it was insane, but it was basically from what he's learned, it's it seems like not a whole lot is going to be changing. Yes, there's going to be new upper management, but Lemieux will still be there. He still reportedly is going to be involved in the hockey side of things as he currently is and the way in which he is. And this is a company, I think a lot of people were kind of like not glossing over this, but this is a company that took over for, when they got the Red Sox, when they got Liverpool, and the Red Sox have won 4 World Series titles since this company took ownership. Liverpool has won a Premier League title, which is like one of the hardest things to do for the non-soccer people. But like that's also soccer. It's a lot. But it's also things. I'm just like, oh my gosh, Premier League's wild too. We could go on a whole other tangent. But it also from people I've been talking to, Fenway Sports Group is really involved with a lot of real estate companies, and there's a lot of talks about wanting to develop a lot of real estate if this sale does go through, which it reportedly seems like it's going to. A lot of real estate in and around Pittsburgh. I've been hearing things in other certain areas, wanting to add more. Obviously, with what the Penguins are doing with the Hill District right now, that seems like that's going to be something that they will continue to do as well. So, I mean, just kind of like an outside perspective looking in type thing, this seems like on the surface, at least, there's a lot of positives kind of coming out of this. It doesn't seem as drastic as what a lot of people made it out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I started panicking. Not even because I thought the Penguins were leaving, but just because I was like, this seems sudden. I don't like change. I hate this. Please stop. Make it stop. And then the more news that came out about it, it seemed like it's only a good thing. And I my goodness, the amount of money that this Fenway Sports Group has, I can't even wrap my mind around it. They have a lot of money, and obviously that doesn't circumvent the NHL salary cap, but it kind of piggybacking off of them potentially investing in the city of Pittsburgh, the Hill District, all the stuff that the Penguins are already doing in the city. What does that financial side of things mean for the Penguins moving forward?
I think, well, first off, I mean, if you look at just what the value of this team has turned into since Lemieux and Burkle bought it, because, I mean, Burkle's initial investment was $22 million, and then Mario didn't put money into it. Mario, as a player, was owed $32 million from previous ownership, and they're like, just take it out of the team. Like that's how Mario became owner. So for them to turn that into now a $900 million sale that we're talking about, that's huge. But yeah, just that kind of money and this kind of, I mean, the Red Sox and Liverpool are big brands too. It's not just that they've had a lot of success, but they're big brands. So, aside from what they can do for like the city and developing the city, but just what they could do for Pittsburgh. What Dejan said is that they were looking to acquire, so they own a soccer team, they own a baseball team. They were looking to acquire an iconic hockey team and an iconic basketball team. Not sure what that basketball team would be. I honestly don't know a whole lot about the NBA, so I don't know who would be for sale. But so yeah, they were looking for a big kind of brand like this so they can grow. So just as far as like the money that they can put behind marketing, and I don't know, like they have Ness in Boston, so I don't know if anything like that could end up coming. Where like maybe they can build a new network here. We're thinking way far ahead, but just that kind of power and what they did, at least in Boston, gives, I think, fans reasons to be excited.
Yeah. And this too, I mean, there's the potential for so much here too. I was kind of like, when hockey Twitter was exploding about this yesterday and stuff like that, people were kind of like bringing up a point that what happens if this also brings women's professional hockey to Pittsburgh?
That would be amazing.
The commissioner, so like the NWHL rebranded to the Premier Hockey Federation. The commissioner of that league is her husband, GM of the Pirates. So like I don't know if she lives here, but there is like a tie. So I would love to see a women's team come here, because when it was the NWHL, they did come here for neutral site games and it was always sold out. They came here more than they came to any other city. Well, they had that, it was 2 seasons ago, the U.S. and Canada came here for a joint training camp and like 2 kind of friendly games. Massive success. So building up like youth hockey, because like girls hockey is growing, and that's kind of why this is such a good market for that. But like just building up the youth program, the Penguins have already done a whole lot with that. And the kind of community outreach things like the Willie O'Ree Academy. So just having like a bigger group behind that, I think would be good.
Amazing. And honestly, just the fact that, so you're honestly cluing me in to a lot of holes that I had in my knowledge, the gaps there. But the fact that Fenway Sports Group wanted to acquire an iconic hockey team when there are teams like, I don't know, the Rangers and even like the Blackhawks, which they have their own shit, whatever, but the original teams of the league, and even like the Bruins, who are in the city where they reside, and they chose to ask about the Penguins and pursue that. That says a lot about what Mario Lemieux has been able to do with the franchise, and the importance not only of the team in the league, but what the team means to Pittsburgh. I think that that's really cool, and it makes me love the team. Makes me love them even more, honestly. That makes me happy, but I feel a lot better about it after getting that information. And I think that when are we going to hear like what the definitive resolution is?
It sounds like it could happen within the week. I mean, that's if it goes through. It could fall through. We don't know.
That's true.
If it goes through, it sounds like it could happen as early as this week. At Wednesday's practice, Sullivan players were asked about it. They didn't know it was like they found out about it when we did. So it's not something that they've been made aware of before this. They really didn't have any opinions on it. They said, because I guess they were told that, like we said, things really wouldn't change. Like Morehouse, all those executives would be sticking around. So day-to-day stuff really wouldn't change. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what they were told. But yeah, it sounds like it could happen within the week. I don't know. When are we going to meet LeBron, do you think?
Hopefully as soon as possible.
LeBron, if you're listening, you can come on. We would love to talk about.
Give us the inside scoop, please.
Is Crosby going to be in Space Jam 3, do you think?
Oh my goodness, he better be. Don't make the sale if that's not part of it. Yeah.
Oh my God, we were at the game Tuesday, and like they took the first like 2 weeks of the season, we had cookies in the press box, and like they're gone now. Like we had Cheez-Its and stuff up there, but like the cookies are gone. And like Tuesday, we're like, guys, do you think like LeBron's gonna bring back the cookies? Like this is what I care about.
Here are
what
our
kind
requests.
Of cookies?
You go to the gas station. The brand is called like Grandma's Cookies or whatever. They're like they had like the prepackaged ones. We had those in the press box. Like I'm like
those
taking like 2 packs.
So good.
Yeah. So LeBron, bring us back the cookies. Space Jam 3. Steve Crosby wants to get in on that, but I don't know. Seems like only good things can come from this.
Absolutely, yes. The world is our oyster. Let's take another quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back. So last night, 2 nights ago, Tuesday, the Penguins hosted the second annual joint Pride Night with the Buffalo Sabres, and it was a really cool night. And I know that last season, their first joint Pride Night wasn't anybody there, correct? Because of the COVID protocol.
It was in Buffalo.
Yeah, there was like 500 people. It was like one of those really limited attendance games.
Very lightly attended, yeah. So it was the first full capacity Pride Night, but it was a really cool event. Just seeing the diversity of hockey fans represented there. I attended the game, and I know Taylor was there as well. But there was a lot that the Penguins did and are still doing to support different causes for the LGBTQ plus community, just to create a space and an environment where they know that they belong in the sport of hockey. And I know that we were kind of talking in between the segments about the the different organizations that the Penguins were supporting. Taylor, do you have that list pulled up? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so they're doing, like, you can donate money through the website, but they're also doing the auction of the warm-up jerseys which had like the Progress Pride flag on the shoulder and the numbers. The Sabres also had warm-ups, and then everyone wore Pride tape on their sticks during warm-ups. So sticks are being auctioned, the nameplates from there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's like art, like there's like gift bags and stuff like that, warm-up pucks. So a lot of stuff being auctioned, going to raise a lot of money. Penguins and Sabres, because it is like a joint Pride night, they have different organizations. I think each team picked 3. The Penguins, the first one is You Can Play, which is the organization that their goal is to eradicate homophobia in sports, but it was founded by Brian and Patrick Burke. So that's why that's a big, the NHL and other teams around the league, you see a lot of teams supporting that. But yeah, the Penguins chose that because that's Brian Burke's organization. Right. And then Proud Haven, which is a shelter for LGBTQ plus homeless youth in Pittsburgh. I think the stat was 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ plus. And then I think it's PERSAD Center is how it's pronounced. It's just a human service organization that aims to improve LGBTQ plus communities in Western Pennsylvania. So a couple of local organizations, and then the Sabres have some throughout New York that they're supporting.
Incredible. It was an awesome night. And I love those warm-up jerseys. I think they're so clean and so cool looking. And if you have any interest whatsoever, is the auction still going to be live Thursday? When is that closing?
Yeah, a full week from Tuesday.
Perfect.
So yeah, you have a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So go ahead, Jenna.
I would say this is just something that's super near and dear to Brian Burke's heart, because one of his sons had come out as gay and was, it was a big public thing. It happened, I believe it was ESPN did something like years ago when it happened. Tragically, he ended up passing away in a car accident. But, Burke and his son, one of his other sons, Patrick, started this foundation. When I talked to him last year ahead of the game, and he said, we don't care. You can be whatever you are, whatever you want, whatever you feel. We just want you to feel comfortable and play. And he said, if you look at the numbers, I believe, I don't want to say it incorrectly, so I'm not going to say the exact number, but I believe he said if you just look at the percentage of the population that is LGBTQ plus, he goes, there is going to be there's somebody in hockey just statistically that is gay and hasn't come out yet. And Burke has been so public about saying, I want them to be on my team. I hope that, the first player who comes out as gay in the National Hockey League, he's like, I hope they're on my team because I want them to feel comfortable. And that's really kind of what these whole nights are about. I think so many people tend to ask, what's the reason behind this? Okay, it's an auction, it's this. But when I talked to Burke last year, I think he just made such a poignant point about it. He said, it's a way to start conversation, because you have a dad taking his, 8-year-old son to a Pride game, and his son asks the dad, hey, why are we doing this? What's happening here? And it's a way for, the dad or the mom or the whoever to have a conversation with the kid and say, this is what this is. And also to show that, hey, we accept you. If this is who you are, we are going to accept you. It's okay to come out to us. And I think that's just such a big thing and such an awesome thing. I mean, everybody, whenever there's a conversation about this, people kind of joke, if you looked at Brian Burke, he's this big, intense, grizzly guy. And, he's so outspoken about this. It's such a big cause that he's so in support of that. It's awesome to see, he was marching in the Pride Parade in Pittsburgh this summer. It was just, those little things like that, I think go such a long way.
Absolutely. And especially because there is this, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of the word, this kind of a cloud of a mentality over, especially the NHL, where they, in a lot of ways, are living 20 years ago, and they're trying to make this sport tougher and more for men, or whatever that even means. And I think that having a guy like Brian Burke, who is known for favoring that physicality of play,
truculence,
Yes,
That's
exactly.
it. That's it.
Yep, that's it. Yep. And to have him be so sensitive to this matter, just saying it, that's okay. We we want you here. Hockey is for you. This sport is for you. I think that that's such an incredible thing because the NHL gets a lot wrong, but being able to have the wherewithal to kind of start to at least turn a little bit in that direction where they aren't trying to gatekeep the sport from anyone is a really cool thing. And it was a great night. And again, it just the diversity of hockey fans, the people who love the Penguins and support the Penguins, seeing so many different types of people who, oh my gosh, it was just an incredible thing. It was really, really cool. And I'm glad that the Penguins did it. So let's just turn really quickly to a prospect update. Taylor, is there anything to fill us in on?
There is. So before we talked our last episode, I think we talked about how the Four Nations tournament was coming up, which is kind of a precursor to the World Junior Championship. It's like an evaluation tournament for making that final roster, if anyone's borderline. So, I mean, Penguins fans really haven't had a whole lot of reasons to turn into the World Juniors in recent years. I mean, the last guy they had was in 2019, Philip Hollander, in his first stint with the Penguins. Was a fourth liner for Sweden, didn't even play every game. Well, so, I mean, last year Blomqvist and Klung made it, but they were like third goalies, they didn't play. But Hollander was the last one to play in 2019. Didn't get any points. Before that, because I was like, I can't remember anyone. Like, before that, it was 2017. Kasper Bjorkqvist for Finland, and then Philip Gustafsson, who is on Ottawa now for Sweden. So it's been a while, not a whole lot of the top guys. I mean, even like Poulet and Legray never made it. They might have three this year. It seems like pretty good, like three who would actually play. So Klung and Blomqvist, the goalies who made it last year, is as backups. They're both competing for the starting jobs this year, and they have pretty good chances. Klung on Sweden. The Four Nations tournament teams play 3 games. He started his team's first game. He had an 18-save shutout. So the goalie he's competing with started the last 2 games, lost one, won the other. But I mean, it really, I don't have any sense of who could be the starter. It seems like they're very close. And then Blomqvist, he faced a ton of shots. He took the loss in his only start. Took a ton of shots. The goalie he's in competition with is in, I believe, a lower league than he is. He's having a very good season in his in the Finnish league. He's only started 4 games, but his goals against average is 0.5. So he went 134 straight minutes without allowing a goal. So he's competing for Finland's starting job. He didn't start either the last 2. He was held out, injury precaution. It's not like a real tournament. It's just an evaluation thing. So they weren't going to put him in. It was just a precaution. They held him out. So 2 goalies. And then for Russia, Kirill Tankov, who honestly I think is one of my favorite prospects to follow. He was the Penguins' 7th round pick last year. It was his second year of eligibility, so he got passed over his first year. They took him in the 7th round, but I mean, just watching the goals, he's so skilled. He's a bigger guy, he's 6'2", 6'3", maybe. He's pretty big, moves well, very exciting prospect. And he when they drafted him, the Penguins called him a winger who can also play center. He's only played center this year. He's in the Russian second league, a step up from last year. Last year he was in the junior league. This year he's in the league directly below the KHL, putting up good numbers. Playing center in the tournament, he centered Russia's second line, which I think bodes well for his chances of making the team. But I don't know. I just his team that he normally plays for in the VHL. They wear navy blue and orange, and he wears number 97. So Connor McDavid comparisons inevitable.
Oh my gosh,
bring it on!
They're the same player.
He's scoring goals like him, and it's so funny. His the junior league team. So he plays for SKA. In Russia, you have the KHL team, the minor league team, and then the junior team. It's all the same system. And Ska's junior team, they tweet at me all the time. Like, they make memes about him. The best like memes from any pro sports account is like a Ska's MHL team, the junior team. But like, they make memes like comparing him to Connor McDavid. I make memes, send them back. So World Juniors this year, it's next month in Edmonton. So Connor McDavid is shaking because Kirill Tankov is coming. So
He's coming for his number.
Yeah.
For his title as best player in the league.
Yeah. Really exciting prospect, and again, like a steal, because the Penguins, they haven't had many, high picks. They need these guys to kind of pan out.
Yeah.
Lucky for him. So normally when you draft a player, you only hold their rights for a certain number of years. That's only if the league they're being drafted from, there's like a transfer agreement. It's real complicated. Basically, the Russia, NHL, no transfer agreement. So what that means is if you draft a player from Russia, you have their rights forever. So Kirill Tankov, they can leave him over there as long as he needs to develop. He definitely needs to work on his defensive game, but that's not surprising. But yeah, he has a lot of time. So they can leave him over there. He can develop. He can move up to the KHL, and they can bring him over. But yeah, Kirill Tankov, they tanked for Tankov. They got him. Really
Beautiful.
excited.
I love it.
Awesome. So yeah, basically what I'm taking away from that is we have Russian Connor McDavid in our system. So yeah, that's good
definitely.
News. Yeah. Awesome. So then to end, the update that everybody I know has been just on the edge of their seats for. So last night I looked up at one point at the big screen and I saw a guy in a Penguins warm-up jersey, and I think I may have done a quadruple take because I thought, I don't know that person. And then I finally was able to process the name that was next to the player, and it was the name of Zach Aston-Reese. He shaved all of his facial hair. It is gone. He's unrecognizable. And I think that we just need to do a quick check-in and update on the status, the facial. Look at that. What?
He doesn't look like, he looks like a completely, because when else have we ever seen him completely clean shaven? Like,
never.
Why did he do this now? And especially middle of November, what? I don't know. Like, I was like that too. I saw him during warm-ups and I was like, who is that? And then I was like, oh my God, that's Zach Aston-Reese.
Yeah, what?
Is he trying to do this so he's like, he can score? Is this kind of like a reversal type thing where it's like, gotta try everything. Let's shave everything off and maybe I'll like.
Guys do.
They do that.
Yeah, guys do weird stuff like that. The one that comes to mind is Teddy Bluger. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago? So he used to, right now he wears his helmet during warmups. He was like alternating back and forth last season where he'd wear it during warmups for like months, and then like the next month he'd put it back on. He'd take it off. Like I asked him, and I was like why are you taking your helmet off in warmups now, or why'd you put it back on? And he said when he hasn't been scoring in a while and he wants to change things up, like he'll change what he does in warmups with a helmet. So I don't know, that could be that. My theory was so it is November 17th. November 20th is the last time they did Mustache Boy, so they're due. So if you go into Mustache Boy with a full beard and you lose, like you're gonna have a mustache to start, like Dominic Simone does right now, and like a pretty significant one. So my thought was like they're due for Mustache Boy. I thought maybe because sometimes if they have a road trip, they'll do it first. My thought was like maybe they do Mustache Boy Wednesday, or if it's not Wednesday, probably Friday. If you're Aston-Reese, like if you're worried about losing in the Mustache Boy shootout, start with a clean slate. Then if you lose, you're not starting off with a crazy mustache. So a lot of theories.
Wonderful theory.
Yeah.
That's like 3-dimensional
connecting the dots.
Something. Yeah. Like, wow.
Where's the what's his face from Always Sunny, where he's like
the different pointing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's the only real explanation because it looks so weird. It's very strange.
The guys who had Mustache Boy this time like got off easy because everyone has mustaches. Like Dominic Simone probably would have had one anyway. DeSmith was the other Mustache Boy because he allowed 3 goals in a row when they did it. I know he hates it, like, because the first time we talked after he lost Mustache Boy, like someone said something bad, and he's like, oh, I hate it. So he's looking forward to. He probably won't carry it out till the end of November. I think whenever his sentence is up in November 20th, he'll shave. But yeah, somewhat. But I think December probably the worst month to be Mustache Boy because you're carrying it over from November. Like you're starting with an established mustache if you already had one from November. So. I don't know. Maybe it's just a smart play by Aston-Reese if he wasn't too confident in his shootout abilities because he isn't, a big shootout guy.
Yeah, well, there you go. He is unrecognizable, and if you haven't seen it yet, Google it because it is something. It's a sight to behold. But thank you for listening. Make sure that you're subscribed to Podcast on Fifth Ave wherever it is you listen to podcasts. Keep in touch with us on social media, and we will see you next Thursday for another episode.